A lot of you wondered if I was going to talk about this album. I was really surprised at the amount of a real outpouring and desire for me to talk about this, but we're going to do it. Feast by Annihilator, their 14th studio album. These guys are legends, especially in the Canadian metal scene. Now, this is a band that I've always kind of been up and down and up and down and up and down on throughout the course of my knowing about them. I've always kind of had respect for them. Love old school classics such as Alice in Hell. Also love some of their 2000s work such as Carnival Diablos. In fact, if I were to listen to one album by Annihilator for the rest of my days, it would probably be Carnival Diablos, or will Feast be able to feast on my old favorites and my old knowledge of this band? Well, let's take a look and talk about it a little bit, and we're going to find out. Now, 14 albums in, I mean, there's not really much left for Annihilator to prove to the rest of the world because everybody kind of knows what they're all about. Canadian, good old-fashioned thrash metal, a little bit of a hint of a hard rock side in there, and there's a lot of different things that are exposed in this album. 9 tracks in length. The first thing that kind of took my eye was the fact that the last portion of this album, the last 3 tracks, the last third, if you want to be super duper uber mathematic technical about it, basically 22 minutes of this record. So a lengthy portion of this album is going to be spent on the last final 3 tracks, which hopefully means that there's going to be a lot of creativity in those 3 tracks to really keep a listener engaged. Now, the first thing that I have to say about this album, which is just kind of, it's more amusing to me than anything else, is that this, listening to some of the lyrics on this album makes me revert back to being 7 years old. I come home from school, I turn on the television, and I'm watching cartoons like G.I. Joe or, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden, something comes on that warns you about the dangers of drugs or warns you about what to do if a bully is being mean. It's an after-school special. A couple of lyrics on these tracks really feels like it's the Annihilator version of the after-school special. There seems to be a lot of references here to drug abuse in the past. There seems to be a lot of lyrics that are pointing towards just, not to start or anything like that, almost as though this is an individual speaking from past experience, trying to convey the idea to his listeners that this is not the road to go on. And if that's kind of what they were going for, or at least what the story of the songs were going for, then it was definitely well constructed lyrically, because there is a lot of metaphor about really needing drugs, the addictive power of them, and then how exactly it really seems to take precedence over your life and just becomes the only thing that really you quest for, that's really important to you. It really takes control. So that's the first thing I have to say right off the bat. I'm not necessarily lauding that whatsoever. I'm not dismaying that or, saying that that's a bad thing, because it was done fairly well. There's, a relative amount of cheese in here with some of them. These are some ideologies that you've heard time and time again. However, with the backing music and everything like that goes along with it, this is something that is not very irritating whatsoever. In fact, you just kind of move forward with a little bit of a hearty chuckle, even though it does make you think. Second thing that I have to mention on here, track number 6, Perfect Angel Eyes, is a ballad. Yeah, it's a ballad. This is something that you would expect to hear maybe at a wedding if they were, Canadian metalheads. This is a really beautifully written track by the guys, and I have to really compliment the vocal delivery on this, as well as the way in which the songmanship was crafted, because this was the perfect opportunity for bands to fall victim to the trap that they all kind of need to get a shine. And with the construction of this song, there was that big possibility that there was going to be either an over-the-top guitar solo, there was going to be just something in there that was going to kind of ruin the composition and not give it quite as much power. The one thing I really liked about this song is that didn't happen. They didn't fall victim to that trap. I guess they really shouldn't, considering they've been doing this for so long. They constructed a really powerful ballad. The lyrics to this track are extremely, extremely well done and well penned. So a lot of positive energy and a lot of adulation has to be given for that as well. And then we get to the last half, or the last third rather, of the album. Demon Code, Fight the World, and One Falls, Two Rise. And this is, like I said, the portion where we expected to see the most creativity. We expected to see Annihilator really kicking on all cylinders. This could make or break the album. And it actually made the album, because this is very well constructed. These are songs that were well thought out. They were able to expand the composition, as I always like to speak about, especially in One Falls, Two Rise, which clocks in at over 8 minutes in length. They were able to really expand the composition a little bit, kind of similar to what Carcass did on the last track of Surgical Steel. They really were able to throw a lot of their different ideas into the arena, and they were able to piece them together into very, very thought-provoking and very, very well-constructed thrash metal. So I really enjoyed how the last 3 tracks on this album went. I felt as though they really needed to exercise with a bit of caution, but at the same time really throw everything that they could at us, considering there was such a significant period of the album's length being dedicated to these 3 songs, and they did that. They really accomplished all goals. Really, I'll be honest, this album took me by surprise with how well it was really done. Annihilator is the type of band that throughout the 2000s I've been up and down on, because some of their work has just seemed a little bit over excessive on the cheese factor. It just didn't seem to really have that same amount of power. Instead, it went from the powerful to the man-o'-war. Man-o'-war is just being used as a metaphor for cheese, because a lot of their vocals are, or a lot of their lyrics are rather cheesy, but the band itself is good. And Annihilator was kind of within that same category for a while. Now I can actually remove them from that category once again, because Feast has a phenomenal purpose. Not to mention it also has very, very talented songwriting on it that is blended with some lyrics that are, you know, the lyrics are not really above average or anything like that. They're just kind of halfway decent. Perfect Angel Eyes was well constructed. A couple of these others have some clever metaphor, but aside from that, overall, they're just kind of okay. So overall, I have to give this album a solid 8 out of 10. It has a lot of the factors that many people like about Annihilator. They've been kind of able to notch up the bar a little bit. And it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. I can probably tell that in the comments. There will be some people that say there's a new Annihilator album. Bleh? I made that noise because I nearly fucked up their name. But yeah, check this one out, guys. It's cool.